Have you ever pondered on how wars have shaped the course of human history? They've been the catalyst to major shifts, drastic changes, and remarkable advancements. From the earliest recorded battles to the most recent conflicts, wars have influenced every aspect of society, politics, technology, and culture. Today, we'll explore the 10 most significant wars in world history, those that have left an indelible mark on the fabric of human existence. Join us as we delve into the top 10 wars that have significantly impacted the world. We start our journey in ancient Greece with the Peloponnesian War, unfolding over 27 long years from 431 to 404 BC. This epic conflict saw the powerful city-states of Athens and Sparta locked in a bitter struggle for dominance. Athens, the shining beacon of democracy and culture, with its formidable naval fleet, clashed against Sparta, the military powerhouse known for its disciplined warriors. The war was an exhausting tug of war, with victories and defeats on both sides, but ultimately it was Sparta who emerged victorious with the help of the Persians. However, the victory was a hollow one. The war had ravaged the Greek city-states, decimating populations and laying waste to economies. The once glorious Athens was left in ruins, its golden age a distant memory. This war marked the end of the golden age of Athens and altered the ancient Greek world forever. Our next stop is the Punic Wars, the series of conflicts between Rome and Carthage. Spanning over a century from the First Punic War in 264 BC to the Third in 146 BC, these wars were a defining moment in ancient history. On one side we had Carthage, the maritime powerhouse of the Mediterranean, and on the other, Rome, an emerging land force. The wars were primarily about control over the western Mediterranean and were characterized by long sieges and brutal naval battles. The First Punic War saw Rome's rise as a naval power, while the second brought forth military geniuses like Hannibal Barca. But it was Rome under Scipio Africanus that emerged victorious. The third and final Punic War, however, was more of a punitive expedition, leading to the complete destruction of Carthage. The Punic Wars marked the rise of Rome as a dominant power in the Mediterranean. Moving forward in time, we arrive at the 100 Years' War. Unfolding over a span of not 100 but 116 years, this conflict, from the 14th to the 15th century, was primarily a power struggle between the English and the French crowns. The English kings claimed the French throne, a claim that the French vehemently disputed. This war was a series of battles rather than continuous warfare, notable among them being the Battle of Crécy and the Battle of Agincourt. These battles were punctuated by periods of uneasy peace. The war saw the rise of national sentiment, military evolution, and icons like Joan of Arc. The outcome, the French successfully expelled the English, retaining only the port of Calais. This war had lasting effects, shaping the national identities of both nations. It gave rise to a strong French state and a redefined English monarchy. The 100 Years' War shaped the identities of both England and France. Crossing the Atlantic, we find ourselves at the American Revolutionary War, a conflict fought from 1775 to 1783. It was a war that pitted the 13 American colonies against the might of the British Empire, the most powerful nation of that era. The war was sparked by rising tensions over issues of taxation and representation. The colonies, chafing under the distant rule of the British Crown, began to clamor for independence. What started as a series of skirmishes in Massachusetts soon escalated into a full-blown war. The American colonies, under the leadership of figures like George Washington, fought a protracted guerrilla war against the British. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Americans managed to hold their ground. The turning point came with the Battle of Yorktown in 1781. With the help of the French, the Americans achieved a decisive victory that effectively ended the war. This war resulted in the birth of a new nation, the United States of America. Back in Europe, we witnessed the rise and fall of an empire in the Napoleonic Wars. Spanning a little over a decade from 1803 to 1815, this series of conflicts involved many of the global powers of the time. At the center of it all was Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius who carved out an empire stretching from Spain to Russia. However, his ambition was his downfall. The disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 marked the beginning of the end. Despite a brief return to power, the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 saw Napoleon's final defeat. The coalition of Britain, Prussia, Austria and Russia emerged victorious, leading to a reshuffling of power in Europe. The Napoleonic Code, Napoleon's legal legacy, however, still influences many legal systems worldwide. The Napoleonic Wars changed the face of warfare and reshaped the political landscape of Europe. Returning to America, we delve into the conflict that tore a nation apart, the American Civil War. Unfolding over 4 long years from 1861 to 1865, this war pitted neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother, as the Northern Union states clashed with the Southern Confederacy. The bitter struggle was largely over the issue of slavery, with the Southern states fighting to preserve their peculiar institution, while the North sought to abolish it. The war was marked by significant battles, such as Gettysburg and Antietam, causing an estimated 600,000 casualties, making it one of the deadliest conflicts in American history. In the end, the Union emerged victorious, and the 13th Amendment was ratified, outlawing slavery across the nation. The American Civil War ended slavery and forever changed the United States, leaving an indelible mark on the country's history and shaping its future. We now enter the era of global conflict with World War I. A terrifyingly expansive war, it was a conflict that involved over 30 nations from across the globe, lasting from 1914 to 1918. The war was primarily fought between 2 major alliances: the Central Powers led by Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, and the Allies, spearheaded by the United Kingdom, France and Russia. The war was brutal and bloody, with trench warfare becoming a haunting symbol of the conflict. New technologies like tanks, airplanes, and chemical weapons brought unprecedented destruction. When the guns finally fell silent, an estimated 17 million lives had been lost. The outcome of the war was transformative. The Central Powers were defeated and many empires crumbled, giving rise to new nations. The Treaty of Versailles sought to establish peace, but instead sowed the seeds of future conflict. World War I marked the end of empires and the beginning of a new world order. Our journey brings us to the most devastating conflict in human history, World War II. It was a global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945, involving many of the world's nations, organized into 2 opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. It was the most widespread war in history, and it directly involved more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The major participants threw their entire economic, industrial and scientific capabilities behind the war effort, erasing the distinction between civilian and military resources. This war marked the culmination of the deadliest conflict in human history, resulting in an estimated 70 to 85 million fatalities, approximately 3% of the world's population at the time. The war ended with the Allied victory, leading to significant changes in the political and social structure of the world. The United Nations was established to foster international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. World War II reshaped the world in ways that are still felt today. Finally, we turn to the Vietnam War, a conflict that defined a generation. This war, fought from the mid-1950s until the mid-70s, marked a significant chapter in the larger Cold War narrative. The primary participants were North Vietnam, supported by its communist allies, and South Vietnam, backed by the United States and other anti-communist countries. This conflict was characterized by a relentless guerrilla warfare and extensive aerial bombardment. It was a war that defied conventional warfare, taking a heavy toll on both the civilian population and the environment. After nearly 2 decades of fighting, the war ended with the fall of Saigon in April 1975. The outcome was a unified Vietnam under communist rule, and it marked a rare military defeat for the United States. The war's legacy still lingers, shaping the social, political, and cultural fabric of both nations. The Vietnam War left a deep and lasting impact on both Vietnam and the United States. From ancient Greece to Vietnam, wars have indeed shaped the course of human history. The Peloponnesian War, the Punic Wars, the 100 Years' War, the American Revolutionary War, the Napoleonic Wars, the American Civil War, World War I and II, and the Vietnam War. These conflicts have left indelible marks on our world. Each has its unique story, its heroes, its villains, its lessons. It is through understanding these conflicts that we can hope for a future of peace.